Your room's too quiet. But you're not alone. Welcome to Mystery Files, where the dark breathes your name. Step inside, or it'll pull you through. Hey there, friends. I can't quite remember my name, but you don't need to know it. Names are fragile things, easily forgotten, easily buried. Call me whatever you like. Lucian Graves if you insist on something that sounds human. But remember, I'm not the story here. You are, or you will be, soon enough. Now, take a deep breath. Let the light flicker. Let the shadows crawl closer, and follow my voice into the cold, forgotten corridors of this place, where the walls have seen too much. Just don't look behind you. Voices in the morgue. The forgotten won't stay dead. On a dark November night, with fog cloaking the hills of Quebec like a shroud of terror, Dr. Emily Reynolds, a forensic pathologist in her 40s, sat alone in the abandoned Saint Augustine morgue on the city's outskirts. The building, with its cracked stone walls and splintered windows creaking under the wind's pressure, carried a heavy past. In the 19th century, it had been a notorious asylum where patients were strapped to beds, screaming until silence swallowed them. Now, as a morgue, it housed other inexplicable sounds, whispers slithering from metal drawers, and sometimes faint scratches, as if something were trying to escape. Emily, with her graying hair tied back and eyes weary from years of dissecting death, was on the verge of retirement. This was her last night, and she hoped it would pass quietly. But when the final body arrived in a police van at midnight, an odd weight pressed on her chest. The man was unidentified, in his mid-30s, his face pale as wax, his eyes open, black and bottomless as a well. The police report was brief. Found frozen in the nearby La Croix forest. No wounds, no signs of struggle, no clear cause of death. Yet when Emily uncovered the body, the air in the room seemed to freeze. Something about those eyes made her tremble. They weren't the eyes of a dead man. She prepared the autopsy table and donned her gloves, trying to steady herself. "Just another body," she muttered, but her voice wavered in the stillness. The morgue was eerily quiet, save for the faint patter of rain against the windows and the occasional groan of old pipes. She gripped the scalpel and sliced the skin above the sternum, but instead of blood, a pulsing blue light erupted from the incision, electric and alien, accompanied by a sharp smell like burning metal. Emily stumbled back, the scalpel clattering to the metal floor. "Emily!" A voice came from the void, low and distorted, as if spoken by multiple throats. Her heart stopped for a moment. She looked around, but the room was empty, save for the body. The fluorescent lights flickered, buzzing intermittently. She tried to catch her breath, but the air grew heavy, like breathing smoke. She returned to the body and stifled a scream. Its eyes were moving, tracking her, and its mouth twitched as if trying to form words. "Who are you?" she shouted, her voice echoing off the cold walls. But instead of an answer, the metal drawers in the room began to rattle violently, as if something were pounding from within. A horrific scraping sound filled the air like long nails tearing at metal. Emily backed away until she hit the wall, her eyes fixed on the body. Suddenly, it sat upright on the table, its head tilted at an unnatural angle, its eyes glowing with blue light. "We are the forgotten," it said, its voice now a cacophony of overlapping sounds, men screaming, women weeping, children pleading. "And now you are ours." The floor began to shake and metal tools fell from the shelves. Emily tried to run for the door, but the ground cracked beneath her feet, and skeletal, gray, misshapen hands emerged from the fissures, grabbing at her ankles. She screamed, but her voice was drowned by a terrifying laughter emanating from the body. She turned to see its form now floating above the table, limbs writhing like a serpent, its face distorting into a mask of faces. Faces of the victims she had autopsied over the years, their eyes white, their mouths open in silent screams. Memories exploded in Emily's mind like bombs. She saw everybody she'd handled: the murdered girl whose case was never solved, the man found bound with no evidence, the child whose case was closed as an accident. Every decision she'd made, every report she'd signed without question, came back to haunt her. She felt invisible hands tearing at her clothes, pulling her hair, pressing on her chest until she could barely breathe. "Stop!" she screamed, but the body drew closer, its bones cracking as it moved, its cold breath burning her face. In a moment of desperation, Emily recalled an old story told by the morgue's former janitor. The building was constructed over a secret cemetery for the asylum's patients, people thrown into mass graves without names or ceremonies. Their spirits, it was said, were trapped in the earth, feeding on the ignorance of the living, waiting for someone to uncover their stories. Despite her terror, Emily realized the body wasn't just a dead man. It was a gateway, a conduit for all those souls. With all her strength, she tore herself from the spectral hands and ran to her desk in the corner. The drawers still rattled, and the lights flickered like warning signals. She pulled out files of old cases, their yellowed pages crumbling with age. She began reading names in a trembling voice. Marie Louise Johnson, murdered 1998, case open. Jonathan Kelly, found bound 2003, no evidence. Sophia Ramirez, disappeared 2010, body never found. With each name, the air calmed slightly, the hands retreated, and the voices grew fainter. But the body was now directly behind her, its cold fingers brushing her shoulder. "Not enough!" the voice roared, shaking the walls. Emily turned to see the blue light bursting from the body's mouth, revealing a vortex of faces, hundreds, perhaps thousands, all staring at her with eyeless sockets. "You know the truth," the voice said, "but the truth won't save you." The room spun, and the walls bled a black, tar-like substance. Emily felt her body being pulled toward the body, as if an invisible force were sucking her in. In her final moment of panic, she grabbed her personal notebook, where she'd recorded doubts about cases closed too quickly. She began shouting her notes. "I wasn't sure about Marie's case. There was a strange scratch on her wrist. Jonathan, why were the ropes so clean? Sophia, I knew she didn't run away." With each confession, the vortex weakened, and the body screamed in pain, its form crumbling like ash. But the ground beneath Emily gave way, and she felt herself falling into darkness. Suddenly, everything stopped. The lights returned, and the room was silent. The body was gone, the files scattered on the floor. Emily, drenched in sweat, collapsed to her knees, gasping. But when she looked up at the cracked mirror on the wall, she froze. Her reflection was wrong. Her eyes were black, and a strange smile, not her own, stretched across her face. "You're one of us now," a voice whispered inside her head. In the morning, her colleagues arrived to find the morgue empty. No Emily, no body, no files. Only words carved into the autopsy table as if scratched by a nail. "Don't stop searching, or you'll be next." The drawers were sealed, but new workers began complaining of scratching sounds at night and whispers naming people never recorded. In the Lacroix forest, Locals started speaking of a pale woman appearing among the trees, her eyes glowing blue, whispering untold stories. Sometimes, they say, she leaves a small piece of paper on the ground with a name written on it, the name of the next victim,